about the snitching thing. It's just about the fact that I think he's quite evidently a bad person. And
there's a lot of bad people in this shit, bro.
Right, but I also have nothing to gain from him because he's washed.
Now, you think. Or do you think he was washed? Because y'all were going at it for a long time. Why do you think he's washed?
I mean, it's over.
It's a good conversation. It's a good conversation.
It's over, right?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think? Really? But okay, the most recent attempt at a comeback, which he took 2 years off, that was a failure for the most part.
I don't think
right?
it was a failure.
I mean, it might have succeeded in getting some attention. Your podcast was very popular. He puts out a video. He charted however many views.
He charted 84, has no industry support. That's huge for anyone. Tory, who very popular, but gets no industry support because of his situation, hasn't charted with a single in a long time. Here's why I think, and that's why I wouldn't go too crazy on whatever you're saying. I think if we're going to have a falling off argument, he's not consistent. You can't drop one song and disappear for 5 months, especially when that song isn't that big.
Right.
If he was still making noise now, it's like, I'm dropping a follow-up song this time. You would feel like there was momentum.
But it felt like his attempt at coming back out, and he comes out with all these gang members, and he's the only rat that they're jacking. It's like, it felt like after that.
That was a classic clip, right?
Greatest quote of all time. Like I was just talking to Matt Hoffa about that. How did he not tell them that they're not allowed to say that they're only fucking with him for money? Like, that's the one thing that you're not supposed to say, as long as I'm having you guys here pretending to be Treyway.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it 100 with you, though. Hey. Yo, I remember when that clip happened, I was just like...
I was watching that. How did that just come out of his mouth?
A conversation? Man, you know how much shit you get for being aligned with them? For example, when he goes quiet, like, you know how many rappers have hit me and be like, yo, I'm so glad you stopped fucking with him. It makes it cooler for me to do shit with you now.
Right.
Like, it's radioactive when he's over here constantly dissing mad people, and the next week I'm supposed to interview 21 Savage, or, you know what I mean, like somebody else who's like maybe quasi connected to a situation, and they might not give a fuck, but they're like, I'm gonna look weird to other people if I'm with his boy who's also seemingly with him while he's doing all the crazy shit.
But like, think about the fact that he's viewed like that by most of like mainstream rappers. He's viewed as so toxic that you don't want to go sit in the same seat as him. And I will admit,
he's really a good guy though. I'm telling you the truth.
But I mean, just the fact that he's kind of viewed that way, I feel like that's why he doesn't want to come out and release more music, is because look what happens when he drops, is that like everything he touched just seems to fucking like go bad or become controversial. Of like, and this is the other thing with him too, is that every time since he got out of jail that he released a music video, it's got less views than the one that came before it. And I mean, he took a 2-year break, and I'm pretty sure that's still the case with his new video. If he keeps dropping, those numbers are going to keep going down to the point where he's going to be looking like a regular ass rapper. And then what happens? Then the mystique that he had built for all those years is just totally gone. Then you're just a regular guy. I mean, for him, like, releasing music is a big ass liability.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think I don't co-sign most of his behavior, but I will say I think it's fucked up. And I think it's a bad precedent that the DSPs blackball him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It doesn't make that much sense logically. You know, the Tory thing is one thing. You want to take R. Kelly off playlists. I get it.
I don't agree with none of it. Even R. Kelly, I don't agree with none of it. I feel like if you're a DSP, I think what you should do, you should, before slamming your users, and this is on Spotify, but I will say, before slamming your users with these curated podcasts, learn about the user first. Like, if they're adverse to certain things, put artists that might be associated with those things out of their playlist. But, for example, if I pull up whatever popular Spotify playlist, it shouldn't be the exact same as yours.
Right.
And I think only the record companies kind of force him to do that. But because, put it like this, if I was in a situation where my girl was, I don't know, like some Amber Heard, Johnny Depp shit, and like anything about, certain type of content might trigger me, just take those songs off or take those artists off.
Right. Like,
but on yours, it's art, it's expression.
I don't think, like, if I own Rap Caviar, if I'm putting R. Kelly on there, or like, let's say the R. Kelly shit just happened. Like,
R. Kelly a legend.
He was a popular musician a month ago, and now everybody knows about all this crazy shit, and you own Rap Caviar. I mean, you're owned by fucking Spotify, right? Like you want to remain brand safe. You want people to look at your shit. Like it's so easy for me to see why they would boot R. Kelly off the platform. Now, the Tory thing, it's alleged, so maybe that's a little different. The 6ix9ine thing, though, he didn't even like. What did he do? He told. That's not really.
And we could talk about
remove him from a platform for telling is kind of weird, right?
No, definitely true.
Yeah.
But let's even talk about the R. Kelly thing. Right. Which, by the way, there's so many creeps and so many weird and people convicted of shit. Like Tupac was convicted of some really heinous shit. Like, where are we drawing the line? My thing is always like, yo, give us the rules and just make it uniform.
Right.
Like, that's not being fair if you're only going by the outrage at the moment. If you're going by the charge or the conviction, fine. But everybody with that charge or conviction, treat them accordingly. But that's not the truth. Like, I ain't gonna lie, they kind of have blackballed Chris Brown to a certain extent.
But they're not gonna go playlist somebody who's got 50,000 monthly listeners who just shot his girl in the head, right? Because it's not a big story. Nobody's probably asking them to do it.
But if you run a company, right? If you have rules that you only apply to certain people at certain times, do you think that, number one, that would be fair, and number two, you would get respected for it?
It's definitely case by case. Because look, they tried to do that to X and R. Kelly, all this shit back in the day, and then they gave up on the whole thing because of Kendrick. I mean, when the rules are able to be tweaked this easily just because of like one person's outrage versus another person trying to take a stand.
It was like Kendrick that fucking...
Yeah, because Kendrick just weirdly fucked with X. He tweeted his album for no reason out of the blue one day, and then he didn't like publicly take a stand on behalf of X, but it was like very well reported on that was the whole thing at the time.
Yeah, it's crazy that these days, and I know rappers. I remember when the Migos at one point, right? At one point, they were all in shootouts. And by the way, the reason I was saying this hypocrisy with even the R. Kelly shit, like, I won't have a moral conversation of what's better, like, like rape or murder. They're both heinous, right?
Right.
But like, we have no problem with murderers. Like a murderer, to keep it real, a murderer getting playlist. You clap a nigga, you are getting, that's like a playlist for life.
K-Flock, nobody even thought about taking him off playlist, right?
Yeah, hell no.
and this is a person where we've seen the video of him killing someone basically versus Tory allegedly shot somebody. I mean, that's like, think about that. That makes no sense. Yeah. It's bugged out. Yeah.
That's the point where I'm like, yo, if we have a moral conversation, you